we're definitely a manufacturer of packaging machinery. We carry to all levels of automation and speed. So I can do this stuff from tabletop to what's considered inline to high-speed rotary. Just really depends on your budget and the output of your containers, I guess. Now, looking at this, since you got glass and plastic, there's a couple options you can go. Inline, of course, is going to be the most versatile because glass can never be bulk sorted. It's got to be hand fed. So with these kind of containers, we can make a big bulk bottle and scrambler. You throw them all in there, they'll come out onto a conveyor belt and they'll go through one by one and be placed standing up on a belt. Glass you would have to hand place. So you can either choose to get turntables, which will feed all these containers on, or you can have two pieces of equipment, one for plastic, and then you roll a turntable in for your glass on another portion of your containers, like the ratio of the sales that you guys have. Inline is typically most versatile, okay, because what we end up doing is, since you have squares and rounds, the indexing gates that hold the bottles underneath the fill nozzles, which these are what the nozzles would come down and seal off a container and fill. So as these containers change, the pitch changes. So you got to slide these nozzles over. So when you go to smaller diameter, it becomes flexible to move left or right. And the same thing with the gates that hold the bottles to trap them under the nozzles. Because again, it does come down into a bottle, seal off, the nozzle dives, fills all the product up. Product comes in one nozzle, fills to a set level, and then goes back to your bulk source to be reused. Works great for glass. Works excellent for glass because glass is inherently inconsistent. They can make the outside the same, but the inside is always changing. So no matter what, if I put, I'm not sure what this bottle size is, if I put the same in 5 bottles, exactly measurements, you're going to see little peaks and valleys because the glass changes. So by using this type of technology, this is how all your alcohol is filled, is that the nice thing you asked me earlier is you wanted a machine that's upgradable. We make these from 6 to 12 heads in an inline system. If you look on the back side, it's just sanitary connection. So if I want to plumb 2 more sets of nozzles in, it's just a quick T, the plumbing and the nozzle itself, and a slight program change in the PLC here. So you can start out with a $30,000 6-head filler and grow it into a 12-head filler at a later date. The standard setup, what I was talking about, how an inline system is most versatile, is that underneath, these bottles are going to come in and they have to be trapped during these fill heads so when they come down and die. What we end up doing is we have pneumatic air cylinders that fire pins out, they make gates. This one stops the last bottle coming under here, another one fires out here, and it stops the incoming bottles from coming in. So when you change different diameters, you just slide these gates over. They're on a track, it moves left and right, so square round, I just slide them according to make sure they line up under the nozzles. Also, the nozzles are just a single screw in here. They slide left to right to make sure that it gives you the versatility. So that's what I was saying I like about about an inline if you want to do a lot of different shapes. It always has 2 sensors, one bottle to count in, make sure that the machine will never start unless there's a bottle underneath the fill head. Second sensor on the back side is going to make sure that all the bottles leave. If they stall here, it shuts the system down to make sure that if there's a jam in your cap or your label or something like that, we're not feeding the fire. So if I go to run this machine, it's going to bring these bottles in. Right now you can see it's leaving every other bottle empty, and that is only because the nozzles themselves are bigger than these containers. So the machine is going to take into account for that the first time, and it fills every other one, and then after that, they're all going to exit and they'll be full. So just your first cycle leaves like that. So you're seeing that there's a drip tray that's actuating underneath here. Because these nozzles dive into the container, they have some residual water on the outside. So this catches it, make sure it's dry if you're going to a capper or a labeler or something like that. Another thing that you don't see if I went into the manual jog portion of this, I'll take the drip pan off, and then I will put in the neck grabbers. So this is what I was saying, these little plastic guides would come in here and help support the bottle by the neck if it was a flimsy container. See how they're indexing right out here, so that when this comes down, it'll support it. So if I take it off again, you'll see it opens it, and that's part of a cycle that goes in and out that you can utilize. It's an option on the machine, can be added at any time, but I always sell these machines with the drip tray.
So somebody would have to be there, an employee would have to be there?
No. If this belt was on, these would just transfer over seamlessly.
Oh, I see it.
So now it's going underneath, it's grabbing the caps, those little discs are tightening it. Oops, it's not good, because it's not full, but they're tightening it, and then they will transfer on to the next stage. So these belts right here will bring the bottles through. Let me turn this on. So it'll bring it through. I was setting this up for another container before you guys came here, so that's not actually perfect. I was running a guy brought over a beer bottle I ran. You take it and it'll split into a conveyor belt and shingle into the pack pattern that you want. And that's what I was saying, we can either on plastic bottles we can either fold cardboard underneath it, wrap it in plastic and shrink it, or do just plastic with glass bottles. We won't have to do a few of them at a time.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so this is the back side. Actually, you have it on the other side. I can show you, but you can see this is what feeds the water into this filler. So the water after it goes through the filtration tank comes out, it gets pumped up into this tank, and then it goes into what feeds what eventually goes into your container. So it's going to be a little bit of a maze if we come around here, but see that same tank up in the back? Here's the water pump right through here. This is what's considered a monoblock. So now these bottles are going to travel down underneath here by their necks and be shot by air all the way down as they come into this filling system. Once they're in here, they get inverted upside down. Oh, it's got a hole in it. They go upside down. They're initially rinsed. They flip back up, they get filled on here, and they come around here, and this is a rotary chuck capper. It's actually picking and placing the cap, putting them on here, and they continue to go down the line. So the great part about this is it's very fast, it's very efficient, but all your necks got to be the same. If you change the neck, it would be a nightmare in setup that you just wouldn't change parts that you just wouldn't want to do it.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so this is the back side. Actually, you have it on the other side. I can show you, but you can see this is what feeds the water into this filler. So the water after it goes through the filtration tank comes out, it gets pumped up into this tank, and then it goes into what feeds what eventually goes into your container. So it's going to be a little bit of a maze if we come around here, but see that same tank up in the back? Here's the water pump right through here. This is what's considered a monoblock. So now these bottles are going to travel down underneath here by their necks and be shot by air all the way down as they come into this filling system. Once they're in here, they get inverted upside down. Oh, it's got a hole in it. They go upside down. They're initially rinsed. They flip back up, they get filled on here, and they come around here, and this is a rotary chuck capper. It's actually picking and placing the cap, putting them on here, and they continue to go down the line. So the great part about this is it's very fast, it's very efficient, but all your necks got to be the same. If you change the neck, it would be a nightmare in setup that you just wouldn't change parts that you just wouldn't want to do.